Hello, you're joining me for my video on week 3 of my do's and don'ts for homeschooling. So for this week, I'm going to talk about what you should do, which is pray and persevere, and you don't quit. So you want to make sure that you are giving your homeschool to God. Make sure you're going before Him and praying, asking Him to speak to you and guide you in what you should be doing, what you should be teaching your kids. Make sure you're not only focusing on the academic, but you're also looking at their salvation, because salvation is for eternity. And it's also important to our family that we also teach them character skills and different things that we think are important for them to be the best that they can be to build the kingdom of God. So make sure you're praying and giving that to God and seeking His direction for your homeschool. And that can be something that you do together as a family. It can be something that you do you and your spouse, however that looks for your family. I would encourage you to involve your kids if they are old enough to understand. I think that's neat for them to come together as a family to pray to God. You want to make sure that you are trying your best as a homeschooling parent, but we are flawed sinners. So there are going to be things that we miss. And I always just remind myself, I have to do my best and God will do the rest. So do the best that you can and pray that God will fill in those pieces for you. You also want to make sure that you give yourself grace. There are going to be hard days. You are human. You are going to make mistakes. There are going to be things that you think work out perfectly and they don't. There are going to be lessons that you find or activities that you think your kids are going to love and they hate it. So there are going to be hard things. You just have to remember to keep yourself centered, keep your relationship with God strong, and pray, pray, pray. Pray over your kids, pray over your homeschool, pray over your curriculum, pray over your activities. Whatever it is that you can think of to pray, give it to God, and He will do the rest. You can also even pray for specific direction from Him and learning opportunities for your children, whether that be academically or if you're working on maybe some character building activity. Just pray that He can open your eyes to see those opportunities to show your kids what we need to do in certain situations, or reminding your kids that we are all sinners saved by Jesus and that we need Him and He is the only way to heaven. So any way that you can work that into your day, your homeschool, it's always a blessing. Let's go over to the don't side. Don't quit. Like I said before, hard days are coming. It's not going to be rainbows and unicorns, fun times all the time. There are going to be hard days just like anything else. Homeschool is still better than sending them away because you have that full control over what's happening, what they're learning, what they're doing, what they're exposed to, who they're exposed to. It's a very safe space for them and for you to help them develop into the person God designed them to be. You want to make sure that you're growing your faith and strengthening your family bond. If you start homeschooling and you quit as soon as it gets a little bit hard, it's kind of sending a bad message to your kids. We don't allow our kids to give up. If they sign up for something, they have to finish it, finish the task, whether it is like a project that they want to do, or if they sign up for like a sports thing, they finish what we've paid for, what they've committed to, and then if they don't want to re-enroll or renew, that's fine, but it's very important that they finish what they start. And you as a homeschooling parent can model that beautifully, even on your awful, hard, challenging days that are coming. They're not going to be every day, but every once in a while, you might have a rough time with your kids, with your family, with the lesson, whatever it is. Just don't let that cause anything to doubt what you're doing. Keep your faith strong. Keep your why of what you're doing for homeschooling in the back of your mind. You might even want to write it down. I can drop a link for a video where I talk about the why and why it's so important to have a why. If you feel like quitting, you might need to take a break, and that is totally fine. Don't worry about falling behind. Behind what? Behind who? who decides where kids should be? Every kid is different. Every kid is going to be learning at a different pace. They're going to excel in certain areas and be weaker in others. That's just part of life. I think it's more important to teach them to overcome challenges and really build on their strengths than trying to measure them up to their peers. I don't really think that that's beneficial. I don't believe that. So don't quit, but you can take a break. If you're feeling overwhelmed, if you're feeling burnout, take a day off. Go to the pool, go to the park, go sit outside, go to the library and get books and read all day. Take a break from homeschooling if you feel that burnout coming. You might even want to do something different. Maybe you feel like you're just kind of stuck in a funk and you want to do a theme day. Maybe you just throw something different at your kids and see how they respond. Maybe everything they do has to do with the color orange, or maybe they're going to do everything backwards. So if you're working on some math word problems, they have to start at the bottom and work up to the top instead of how they normally do, top to bottom. Just something different, even little tiny things like that, just kind of changing up the rhythm a little bit can kind of help break up the monotony of some things that you do repeatedly over and over again. If your kids normally get dressed, mine like to stay in their pajamas, you could have a PJ day where you do school in your pajamas, or maybe you do school in your pajamas and eat popcorn, or whatever it is, some little fun thing that you can throw in there. Maybe you can talk in silly voices for the morning if they have to do a reading part. Maybe you have them practice changing their voice when they're reading different characters. You can play games. So do a part of the lesson and then whip out a board game or Twister or something just to change it up a little bit. You can have, if they're younger and they like to talk about things that they're passionate about, you could do a show and tell if you have multiple kids, or if you're part of a community that meets, or a co-op, or you have a group of mom friends and you all homeschool and you could orchestrate a show and tell. Just something different to throw in the mix instead of just quitting and throwing in the towel and saying I'm done. There's always things that can be changed, always things that can be tweaked. Pray and persevere. Don't quit.